everyone to the grand final edition of Footy Classified. And what a big week it has been in football. We're going to preview with Ken Hinkley the grand final of 2025. Also, we're going to go right through the Brownlow, all the big stories that have been happening, and none bigger than the announcement today that Essendon has a new president. Andrew Welsh is our special guest tonight, sitting alongside Tom Morris, the man who broke the story on Sunday night that there were more than just rumblings happening out at the old hangar or Windy Hill, and sitting alongside him, one of Essendon's greatest sons in James Hird. So our opening segment tonight is all about this famous football club and what's been happening in recent times. But first of all, Andrew, congratulations, mate. It is an amazing honour to be the president of such an amazing football club in the Essendon Footy Club. And as a boy who grew up in Broadmeadows, mate, congratulations.
Thanks,
Welcome to the Broadmeadows President's
Club. Makes two of us now, doesn't it?
No,
thanks, Ed. It's been an enormously humbling day. The amount of people that have reached out to me, both internally at the club, past players, past volunteers, and my broader friendship group. So it's been really humbling. We've got a lot of work to do, but it's been a great day that has just been finished up recently with the news of Jordan Ridley, which is terrific.
Now, that's a massive result, that, for Jordan. Just give us 10 seconds on how important it is for him to say, I'm staying at the Bombers.
Oh, it's massively important, and I fully appreciate how Jordan has gone about his due diligence. He hasn't been able to play, unfortunately, due to injury, but we've implemented now probably the best 1-2 combination in the high performance area in recent months. So that's given Jordan a lot of confidence that we are invested in that area to get him back onto the footy field.
Wish, I want to talk about, or Andrew, sorry, I can't call you Wisher anymore, because you're president. I want to talk about you for a minute. You first came to the football club, Essendon Football Club, in 2001 as an 18-year-old. You're a bright-eyed kid, you're energetic, you're enthusiastic, you gave your heart and soul to the club. To now be the president, I mean, you couldn't have thought back in 2001 this is where you're going to get to, but how do you feel about it, and what are your plans first up?
Yeah, it's a real honour, as I said, Hirdy. I didn't understand how boards worked back in the day when I was playing. I was fully focused on the task and job there. I look at when David Barham approached me a few years ago to come onto the board, I had no interest. I didn't. I was young family, business was going really well. But I agreed to get involved, and then very quickly I realised that I hadn't lost the passion for Essendon. I actually forgot how good the football club is, how good the people in the football club is, how important our supporters and how great they are. So that's really provided me energy off the work and the hard work that David Barham's done in recent years to build those foundations for us. So we are stable, but I don't want the football club to think that stable is where we stop. Stable gives us the ability now to really drive forward in all areas, whether it be on-field, off-field, and the high performance is a critical part of that.
So when you talk about stable, the performances haven't been there on the field, and there's been a lot of rumblings behind the scenes, and there's rumours of this, rumours of that. How do you explain stability when you hear about a lot of stuff that's rumour in your window?
Yeah, my approach to leadership and how I go about my life is like a see ball, get ball mentality, and if there's see problem, fix problem, or understand what that problem is. I think we continue to hear of innuendo and uncertainty and unrest, and what I can say is that in leadership you need to listen, and I want to listen to what those concerns are. We are a club full of passionate people, full of people that have great ideas potentially. I'm wanting to hear those, but what I'm wanting to do is make sure that this period is a galvanising period for our club, and not one that allows groups to continue in self-interest rather than as a collective.
And I keep hearing about a thing called Old Essendon, New Essendon.
Yeah.
What do you make of I mean, I don't think there's anything like Old Essendon, New Essendon. What do you make of Old Essendon and New Essendon, and are you one or the other?
Well, am I Old Essendon or am I New Essendon?
I'm asking you.
Yeah, so we are Essendon, Hirdy. And the likes of yourself instilled in people like me what it is to be an Essendon person. And an Essendon person is sticking together. It's supporting each other, not just in actions but in words. It's about seeing issues and resolving issues. So I'm very open and willing to continue to make sure that we've got great fabric within our football club. I'm part of that fabric, you're part of that fabric. How do we make sure those good parts of our fabric evolves into what could be the best era of our football club coming up?
Well, so you played in the last Essendon finals win. It seems to me as an outsider that the club's been riven by factions ever since basically that last game. It's so important for you now to actually forgive on behalf of Essendon, so many good people who've been driven away. There's always mistakes in football clubs, and you lose a lot of good people for the wrong reasons sometimes, and you inherit a lot of people who are no good for the same reasons. What are you going to do to try and bring the Essendon family back together?
Yeah, it is listening, Ed, and I get disappointed and I get sad in many ways of some of people that have been involved with the club for a long period of time, how they're treated, and having had the ability to move on with their lives. It impacts them, it impacts their families. I want to see that change. I want to bring people who may have not left the football club in best terms, be embraced by the football club, feel welcome back at the football club, because, as you said, times change, things move on, and this can be a real galvanising moment, is what I'm putting it to, for our football club, for our past players, to get them in being part of the solution and not the problem. Making sure that our members and supporters are seeing the vision and what we're looking to achieve on field, and bringing them along for the journey off field as well.
Is it as simple as you being appointed to the presidency that will unify the club and give it unity? Because I was interested in this quote from you today when you spoke to the Essendon website around unity. The power of Essendon has always been in our unity. When we stand together as one, as players, both past and present, we can be formidable again. Your captain still wants to leave the club. So how unified are you really?
Yeah, so Zach's been very clear as of last night on his position. He's finished up the season frustrated, and I understand that. He's a winner. He's a winner. He's an Essendon person. He's a fantastic guy. He's thinking through what is best for Zach into the future. But I can say he's playing at Essendon. And I hear, well, he's made this call, it's not recoverable, how can he go? Football clubs are amazing places of forgiveness and embracement. And I can guarantee you day one of pre-season with Zach that things will be resolved and he will be the very best footballer, the very best champion player that he's been for the club and will continue to be.
So you've changed the fitness staff, you know, made clear change. You say you've got the best 1-2 in the competition. Is there anything else that has to change around the football department for someone like Zach to be happy?
Yeah, so we're going to continue to go out and source the best people who can help within our football department, both men's and women's programs. Our clear focus as a football club is our football teams. We need to be a football-focused football club. And as strange as that seems, at times I think you can take your eyes off what are our priorities. And our priorities providing the best environment, a really connected environment within our football teams and within our football club.
And are you aware of the email that went around today amongst the past players? I think 365 past players have sent this email to get behind you, stop having factions and get behind and support you.
Can I ask who sent it?
I won't say who sent it, but it was a past player who sent it. And
a significant past player?
A significant past player went to pretty much, well, there was 365 names on this email and basically said, if you've got a gripe, get over yourself and get on and back Andrew Welsh.
Yeah, and the response, Ed, you know, to that email has been phenomenal, and that goes back to let's be part of the solution to get our club back to where we want it to be, rather than the problem, and at many times a feeling of self ahead of club.
The coach seems to have a PR problem with Essendon people, and that might even be Essendon players. Now, he was brought in as an agent of change, which is an easy title to have and a hard one to execute. What's Brad's position out there, and is he someone now who needs to come in and play a different role, or do you just play the role of president and bring people with him for the ride?
Yeah, we've got exceptional leadership with Craig Vozzo as a real football CEO. Brad is an outstanding coach. Yeah. We probably underestimated the state of the football area when Brad was appointed. So we as a club, and I'm head of football governance, had to take a hard approach to really lift the standards within that area, and that has been done. We didn't have the ability this year to implement a football program. Yeah. You know, we had 15 debutants. You know, people look and go, great, young players, that's not great. We don't want to be in that position. We want to have the rising stars we had, but we don't want to be having that many debutants. So Brad's a fantastic coach. He's got full support, and we find that this period now is going to give him the real ability with the high performance area solved to start getting on and building that high performance development area that he's been working on.
So I hear what you're saying about Merrett, that he'll be there day one of pre-season. But how do you, how do you allay his fears that he's part of a rebuild and the club won't be successful in his time at the club?
Yeah, so I'm not convinced around a rebuild, Tom.
So what would you call it then?
Well, we've got some high-quality young players that we've been able to draft in. we're building capacity within our salary cap to target some high A-grade players, but also make sure that we're bringing in multiple A-grade players.
Andrew, you're not going to say exactly, but we reported on this show that the Bombers had a war chest of about $2 million last year coming into this year. So if Merrett was to go, that's going to be significantly higher again. 2 to 2.5 is a pretty good war chest to have. So is that now where you are, where this year you're hoping to bring players through, and the Bombers now, with hopefully you can prove you've got stability, can go and be a destination club? Because I'll reiterate it, Essendon is a great football club that has just gone through a horror period, whether it was self-inflicted or otherwise, just circumstances has cruelled this club over the last 20 years. And some of that was hubris back in the early part when the Bombers were really great. But you've got the chance now to recalibrate this incredible institution.
Yeah, and that's why this is a real galvanising period for us, Ed, because if you're looking from afar, you're questioning whether you're coming to Essendon, where now we want to be making a statement that we want to be a destination club, not just for high talent, you know, for players, but also for coaching staff, for support staff. High performance, Matthew Innes was an amazing get for us. So that is a focus of us. You know, stability makes you attractive when we are starting to go after some real high-end talent.
If you talk about it's not a rebuild, what's a pass mark for this trade period and what you can bring in? And then into next year, what do you hope to achieve out of wins and losses in the season?
Yeah, so what I'm really looking forward to is getting players on the park to give us the chance to actually even contemplate wins and losses, Hirdy. We hadn't had the ability to do that. I think the resilience of the playing group and the coaching group this year was phenomenal, to be honest, because we were going into games where the players had only just met their new teammates the day before. But for them to not whinge through that period, the coaches to get on and coach the best they possibly could, I think showed amazing resilience. So what we need to do is get our high performance program embedded. We need to get our players playing football, and from there we will start measuring where we're going to be and when we're going to be. But it's not a rebuild of years away. We've got good talent. We've got good capacity to get in and be active in the trade period, both this year and coming years.
Okay. Andrew, you're a winner. You grew up, as I said, in Broadmeadows. Your second cousin's Dane Swan. You're part of that Scottish fraternity out in Broadmeadows that I know so well. You stayed at school because football kept you in. You went to a scholarship college. You ended up at Windy Hill. You played great football. You had injuries and the like. You've been a massive success in property development, and you're a self-made person. A little bit different to a lot of the corporates we see coming into football these days, but you're Essendon right down to from your tyre right through to your heart. Yep. And for what it's worth, tonight, I think there'll be a lot of Essendon supporters when we go to the break who'll be punching the air and high-fiving each other from somebody who's on the cheap seats and has had a wonderful relation with the Essendon Football Club with Anzac Day and the like, and people like this bloke and many others. Kevin Sheedy today, we wish you all the best, because a strong Essendon is something that's essential to the AFL, except when you play Collingwood. But seriously, mate, it's a big step for you. It's a courageous move in your time of life. It's something you don't need to do, but I think everybody in football is glad you have, and good luck.
Thanks for the kind words, Ed. I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks, Andrew.
Good luck.
Andrew Welsh is the president of the famous Essendon Football Club. When we come back after the break, we'll set our sails ready to go as Ken Hinkley comes in with Rory Sloane and James Hird to preview the grand final of 2025 as Geelong take on the Brisbane Lions. As we welcome Ken Hinkley, who joins us tonight, having been a wonderful coach at the Port Adelaide Football Club. And Ken, thanks for joining us tonight, because we have got experts in Rory Sloane and, of course, the great James Hird. But to have you here tonight to actually dissect and have a good look at the finals, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Eddie. Yeah, it's great to be here. I've had 3 or 4 weeks where I've been a bit of a rest, and looking forward to Saturday.
How does it feel, though, when you're just out of it a little bit now and you're watching the finals? It's hard to... When you're a competitor like you are, it must be so hard.
Yeah, it is. The last 3 or 4 weeks has been the first time for a while that I've not been involved with September, and the last couple I've really gone, this is something I'm not missing. September's what everyone says you want to play in, but there's only one winner. Yeah. You start off hoping that September's going to be your month, and we never were able to get to the grand final. So, that disappointment, that sadness that comes across your body that lasts for about 8 to 10 weeks, and then all of a sudden you wake up and you're back in pre-season, you're trying to do it all again. It's unrelenting, this game, and I give great credit to the 2 sides particularly who are playing off this week. They just continually do it.
Well, and the 2 sides that are in, it's a Ken Hinkley Cup, because not a lot of people people would know, you actually played 11 games for Fitzroy back in the day, and obviously had a great career at Geelong too. Yeah, look at this.
Prince's
Time
Park.
out of the archives. So who do you think gets up?
Right now.
Number 29 at Geelong, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, 29 for Geelong. I think both sides are the best two teams we've seen this year, and I think they're both the right sides to be on the grand final day. I think maybe, if you ask me honestly, I think Brisbane, if they get their best, will nearly get there.
Taking a few big hangers here, by the way. Just enjoy yourself on the television.
Yeah, we should be watching this.
Hey, Ken, have you decided what you want to do next year yet?
No, I haven't, Tom. I mean, I'm really taking some time to have a breather. I've got 7 grandchildren, and 2 have just arrived in the last 6 or 7 weeks. So there's been some great times in my family home at the moment with the grandkids. So that's probably where I've spent my time and focus. And I should, because I've had 30 years straight coaching, and I've had 13 years coaching at an AFL level as a senior coach. It's the right time for me to have a breath and make sure I think clearly about what I want to do next, not just for me, but for my family.
Do you have a sense, though? I mean, Nathan Buckley often talks about that the fire still burns from a coaching perspective. Do you think that fire, even if it's just dim, is still there for you?
Yeah, no, I'll get kicked out of home soon because I'll need to do something. But the reality is, look, you're a competitive person. You don't do this game for as long as we've done it and been a part of it to just give it away and stop. I love footy. I'll do footy for as long as I can, and whilst I'm walking and breathing, I'll be trying to do something in footy.
Well, I'm going to ask you a direct question. There's a lot of talk that you might go to Essendon. You've just seen the president.
Yeah.
Did you slip you anything on the way out the door?
No, I just traded numbers.
Is that something you'd look at for next year, a role at a club, a director of football, senior assistant, whatever the title is? You'd play a big role in an institution, and I'd think you'd be pretty sought after.
Yeah, look, I will listen and talk with lots of people. I think over the next 3 or 4 months, I'd imagine it won't be a quick decision. I couldn't see myself making a very quick decision. As I said, I love footy, Eddie, and at some stage I'm going to be back doing it. I think at what level, and the roles you talk about. I just hope that I can add value to something when I do decide to do it again, and if I do, it'll have all my energy. I can't not do it halfway.
Ken, you just said you've been in the industry 30 years as a coach, and we talk out the back. I think you're almost 60. I won't give you just 60
yet.
I am. Do you think our game is mature enough to give you another chance as a senior coach? I think everyone on this panel thinks you should get the chance, but age of 60, if you're in the EPL, you're in the NFL, coach at 60 are a norm, not so much in this game, except probably Chris Fagan. Yeah,
and Fakes is a great advertisement for us at the moment, so I'll push him up and hope he can get another win. But look, it's not normal for the AFL industry to give a 59-year-old.
Why is that, though? Because would you say you know more about the game now than you did when you started at Port Adelaide?
100% I do.
Right.
And any coach that coaches tomorrow is better tomorrow than they were today.
So why would they say Ken Hinkley's been a coach at Port Adelaide, been very successful, 30 years, because of his age? We can't.
Yeah, you see the language around the next premiership coach, first time premiership coach, all those sort of things. So it's great this week. We're going to get a 2 or 3-time premiership coach. So that's great for the advertisement of experience. I don't think we understand how important this game is now to have experience, and the reality is it's such a brutal game to be involved with. If you don't have some experience, you will make some bad mistakes.
Providing you get that soft cap out of the way and get coaches in and support staff in to actually drive what is the basis of our game, that is playing the game on a weekend.
Yeah, 100%, and it's why we've got such great crowds. It's why we have 99,000 people at 2 prelim finals, because they want to see the players. But we've got to also understand, Eddie, that the talent is dropping away. We're about to have 19 teams.
You might make a comeback as a player.
I nearly get a game.
maybe at Collingwood, Eddie.
I've seen Fags warming up through the week. Someone's had something about him playing. So
there's a few more seasons to get to Collingwood.
And Kenny, so you've been one of Port's most successful coaches. Just give these guys an insight what it's like to coach in South Australia, because as we've seen the last few weeks, it's a pretty intense town to be a coach in.
Yeah, it is. It's a great town as far as being involved, but because the passion is so real, but the passion sometimes spills over to places that, are harmful, I think, and hurtful to the playing groups. But both teams, not just Port Adelaide, but I can talk about Port Adelaide. I'm an emotional coach, and I've let my emotions take the better of me at times, but I can't change who I am. But I think Adelaide makes it a bit harder to keep that at a level base, and for me, that's been the real challenge at different times. But I look at those clips there and that game there in particular. I'll never be involved with a better game than I was in that last game at Port Adelaide.
Well, you said to us before you didn't play in a grand final, but that will go down as one of your most favourite games that you've ever coached or been involved in.
Ever.
Ken,
Yeah, as good as we've been.
do you regard your tenure at Port Adelaide as a success?
No, I don't, because we win premierships to be successful, and you know I gave everything I had. I didn't have anything left to give, but I did everything I could with the playing group and the coaching staff. I have amazing people with me, and it's not just the senior coach now. We don't understand how many people are involved with the day-to-day operations of an AFL footy club, but ultimately, to make grand finals and to win grand finals is what makes you successful, and we didn't do that.
Really? Because if you look at the effect you had on a number of those players, look at Rosie, Butters, just name a couple, and the club as a club,
where it was.
Surely that was a success. And you grew those players, you grew those clubs to achieve, you know, mightn't have been a premiership with you, but what they're going to achieve, to me, it's a huge success.
And they weren't covering seats when you finished.
No, exactly.
No, look, I'll be really happy on the day that we celebrate a premiership at Port Adelaide and Josh is in charge, and we get to see those great players win a flag. And you know, and I go back to Robbie and Trav and Tommy Jonas and Hammer and Brad Ebert, all those boys that I started with, and go, gee, they gave everything. We couldn't give any more. We gave our best, and our best wasn't quite good enough. But we did turn our club. The thing I would say is we did turn our club around to being almost, you know, irrelevant to being relevant again in the competition. And
I think it's too hard sometimes.
Yeah, I do too. But the footy, like at my age and my stage, I live in the real world, and I'm a premiership person, and you have to win premierships to be successful.
Fair enough.
Just, I'm going to back over what Eddie asked before a little bit about Essendon. You've got Brad Scott at Essendon, Michael Voss at Carlton, potentially Nathan Buckley at Tasmania. Which one of those three would you prefer to mentor?
He looks amazing.
I love them all.
You can't do all three.
No, look, I've got a great relationship with Michael, and you know, and I think Michael, to be fair, you know, me to be back around Michael would be not the right thing for me to do. I don't think. He's got Chris now, which is going to be great for him, and you know, Bucks seems to have the passion back into he really wants to coach, and that's obvious. And you know, Brad, I do like what Essendon have been trying to do, and they're trying to improve their. I think they're trying to improve the right way, and that's bring some youth in first and then try to develop. And, you know, they've had some challenges, obviously, in the last couple of weeks.
So, Essendon, tell me what was in the key part of that email that went to 365 past Essendon players from an esteemed leader of the Essendon Football Club, not you. What was the key message?
I want to be careful not to give it away, but I think everyone saw Andrew Welsh as an all-heart, all-in player, and the main message was all in, all heart from everyone.
So from the past players at Essendon's now, all in, all heart.
That's the message.
He'd be good at Essendon, wouldn't he?
Be fantastic.
Hey.
Definitely
Seems
all
to
in.
fit in everything that's there.
Quick question, can I ask Ken a quick question?
Yeah.
A little cheeky one without blowing up this whole panel. Do you fan of the prison bars jumper or not?
No, Eddie lost his way a few times. The prison bar jumper was a great jumper, and it's the right jumper to wear in a showdown.
Sorry.
The sandfall that was signed off. You believe in contracts. Do it.
No, I just went rogue. Sorry.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
You won't be invited back next year, Roy. That's your last show.
Now let's have a chat about the Brownlow medal.
Yeah.
What do we think of the winner, Matt Brown?
Fantastic. What a great winner. And I know there's controversy about votes given, votes there, but I just think taking away from Matthew Rao is ridiculous. What a player. The work he does inside a contest, the way he breaks tackles, breaks out of a contest, sensational. And I remember watching Matty Rao in the under-12 trials for the Victorian Schoolboys Championship down at Carey Grammar back in 2000 and whatever years ago. And that boy dominated then, and he's dominated now. And congratulations. What a fantastic player he is.
He's a pretty hard player to stop, isn't he, Ken? Have you tried with a few players?
Yeah, he's almost impossible to stop. We had him in the last round, and we had we had a few people out, but we had Zach got a little bit of a mission to try and tackle him, and he reckons he got him 2 or 3 times, so he was pretty happy. But Matty, I agree. Matt's been a fantastic. Like, remember his first 3 games?
Yeah.
You get 9 votes. He could have won the Brownlow in his first year, but he didn't do his shoulder, so
exactly.
He's probably a deserving winner. I would say that I did feel for Nick. I've got to say, I think Nick Dacos...
70 Brownlow votes in 2 years and he hasn't got a Brownlow.
I think he's had 103, hasn't he, or something like that?
He could be the youngest triple Brownlow medalist ever and he hasn't got one yet. But,
I feel for Nick too. But how hard for Matty Rao? He's evolved his game too. I mean, he was just a ball inside. He's now on the outside. The way he covers ground, the way he gets contest to contest, can use the ball. It's not easy for a guy who's got such a great talent to evolve his game.
OK, can I jump in here because I want to get to the one that's a good discussion. OK, and that is, of course, was Naz. Now, the Wanganeen Malera vote last night. Let's go to it. The most famous game of the year, St Kilda versus Melbourne.
One in Alexis.
Wanganeen Millera, 2 votes. Melbourne, Jay Viney, 3 votes. North Melbourne, Geelong.
Now, the room erupted at that stage. As Rory was saying there, we gave him a Lexus from Lexus of Blackburn because we said it was that exceptional a game of football. He probably got another 500 to 750,000 on his contract. Can I mount a case for the umpires?
Well, they should get some statistics.
Well, yes, they should get some statistics, and I want to come back to that. But in that period of play, Viney didn't know where he should be. The Melbourne coaching bench didn't know where he should be. The umpires are trying to explain the rules to everybody, so you can understand how that slips by. And Viney was a great player on that day until that moment. But surely, Ken, can I put to you and to Hirdy, how do you do your votes for the best and fairest?
Yeah, we get all the information and we review the game first. We get through all the, the screen and we go through the game for about 3 or 4 hours again, and then we get all the numbers at the same time. And then on Monday we'll go through that with a group of coaches. We'll talk about all the players and who had an impact for both sides. We actually do the Coaches Association votes on Monday, and we do put some value into that ourselves. So I just don't think we give them enough information. I think it's unfair to the umpires to expect them to get it right.
So, Hirdy, I know that you're the same at Essendon, and it's pretty much every club. So, could I put this to the table for a bit of a thought, OK? The Brownlow Medal is the Umpires' Award. So forget that. If you want to have a different award, knock yourself out. But this is the Brownlow Medal. So leave it with the umpies. But why do we lock them in as if it's the papal conclave?
No,
straight after a game when they're exhausted and they have to have a guest. Those 4 umpires, once they saw what happened the next day, they must have been sitting in the fetal position for the last 3 months, waiting for the moment that it came out. Right? Could you imagine what was going on in those things? You reckon they would have gone, oh, my God.
So when should they do it, Ed, do you reckon?
Well, I'm thinking, should we actually do a similar situation? The umpires, one, I think should be full-time, but, OK, leave that to the side. But should they not go in on a Monday, review the tape, have everything out there, still look at it? I would actually interview them and get them after the game to get their first thoughts. Because I've been in press boxes where people go, oh, I reckon Tom Morris was best on ground. Then they get the stats and they go, geez, I didn't know who'd kicked 4.
Have you seen him play?
Tom Morris.
Yeah. There's no chance he's going to be best on ground.
I'd add in 2 media personalities too. One broadcaster and one radio.
Media personalities?
No, from the media box.
Kane Collins another job. I mean, they're
footy heads.
Hey, they just cocked up the All-Australian Award, so let's not get too precious on
They don't leave it open to corruption if you wait 2 days.
No, my point is if there's been corruption...
I'm aware of that, but more open to corruption.
No, but my point is if you have... you video the first meeting, OK, which gets all that, then you lock them down. Umpires have got integrity. You have to trust them, right? But you get them in, give them a chance. Because at the moment, I just wrote this down, they're using Morse code and the rest of the competition's using AI. OK? So let's give them a break and not humiliate them on the Monday of Grand Final week.
I've coached from the bench for a couple of years. Basically at ground level, and they're umpiring, they're running around with players all over the place. And I can't tell you at the end of the game from the bench as a coach who the best players have been on the ground. Yet we're going to ask the umpires to do that immediately after the game. I'm
happy if they want to keep it as an umpire's award or scrap the whole thing and start again. But if it's an umpire's award, you've got to give them a chance. And that's coming from me after what happened this week with the umpires. I think I'm getting soft.
So if Nick Dacos was robbed, oh no, we're done. No, that's it.
We're going to take a break. Shut up. We're coming back after this, Tom. You've got a lot to say coming up because there's lots to go through, including our build-up to the grand final. That's next.
Geelong Football Club versus the Brisbane Lions in this year's grand final, Ken. And when you coach against Geelong, it's very hard to know where their players are going to line up.
Yeah, no one does, and I think even their players at times don't really know where they're going to line up. They're such a creative team, and I love the way they go about it.
Graham Myers on radio this morning talked about even he and some of his teammates don't know where they're going to line up, so don't know how the opposition coach is going to know.
Yeah, by the coaches, there's a lot of preparation, but also there's zero in terms of what ends up happening. So I reckon I get told about 3 different roles every week that I will play, and I play them out and I dissect them and I understand them, and then the game will start and 5 minutes in I'm in a different role again. It's kind of like this weird twist where the other team doesn't know what we're doing, but neither do we sometimes, and I think that's the best part is that it creates such good unpredictability. Yeah, then there's that unpredictability that they don't know when Jez is going to go on the wing because he doesn't know where. It's kind of good for us.
So when you're coaching against Geelong, Ken, you've got Chris Fagan's going to come up against Myers, Mullen, Blickvars and Bowers. How do you tell your players what to do? What do they move? Where do they go?
You do your best to give them the information, the potential of what might happen, but you can't even get half the stuff that Geelong can do. And that's the creativity of Chris, I think, and the way he coaches. And, you know, their players are so experienced, and I think that's really important when you've got experience that they can be trusted to do what they need to do. You know, and he said there about Jeremy, he'll go up and sit on the wing and no one will know he's going there, but Jeremy will just go there and they adjust to that. You've got to be really creative with your own thing and you've got to be prepared to take them on. Look, to be fair, Geelong had done numbers on us this year, so I'm probably not the right person to talk to too much.
The other one that's really hard to follow is Max Holmes. I mean, Max he's had a breakout year, another fantastic year. His run off half-back makes him very hard to play against, and when he gets the ball in hand, it's not a 50-metre game, it's an 80, 90, 100-metre game.
Yeah, he basically goes to half-back as a free almost and becomes an extra mid and plays from half-back as an extra mid. And we all know that he's such a creative and damaging player that you can't allow him to run. So he gets freedom of choice and he gets to choose where he wants to go. You know, he's been a really damaging player and I'm sure he'll be one on the weekend. Looking forward to this week's game.
Would you tag him?
I don't think you can. I think the challenge with tagging against Geelong is that they do drop into so many different positions, so it makes it really, really difficult. You've got the two, speedsters in amongst the ball and they can drop into any spot, whether it be wing, half-back, even going forward at different times. Without Tom Stewart, it creates a different thing down back. And the ruck competition, so Blitzard's been very good in the ruck, and we can see here his numbers are better than Stanley over the course of the year. Who would you go with? Would you keep Blitzard in the ruck, or would you go with Stanley and maybe have Blitzard go back? I'd look at the numbers and I'd be pretty strong on Blickards, I think, as the player I'd like to put out there, especially with... Now, we had it in 2007, a long, long time ago at Geelong. We had Stephen King, who's funnily enough, at Geelong and coaching that midfield group, he replaced Mark Blake. So, yeah. But we had real experience to come in. You're talking about two really experienced ruckmen. Tom Stewart being out, that will be where they're spending some time thinking. But myself, I think Jed Hughes is the player they'll bring in for the smaller Brisbane forwards. Hugh McCluggage has been a revelation this year. Fantastic player, very hard to play against, and had a really good game on the weekend. But against the Cats in the qualifying final, O'Shea Mullins really got him, didn't he? Would you play McCluggage in a different position, or would you keep him in the midfield and see if you can just beat him outright? Yeah, I'd want to challenge him a little bit at the start, because knowing what we know, we shouldn't want to be getting beat by what we do know. And, he did an outstanding job. He did the same job on Zach Butters against us, and, he's such a determined little fella that he gets the job done really, really well. But if I'm Fags, I'm thinking about, I've got to give Hugh a bit of a head start here and I've got to give him a challenge and say, he's a great player though, so you risk taking him away from where he's been great. But what happened last time was a loss, and he didn't touch the ball. So I think he's got a free swing here a little bit with what he does with him. Who's going to win? Look, I think the two best teams are playing clearly, and I think there's no doubt about that. Look, I've always been a fan of the Lions and the way they play and their contested football. I think they've just shown at times they have the ability to step when they need to. I'm looking forward to Rayner taking off and Bailey taking off, and then Big Oscar in the ruck having his day out. But look, I would go Brisbane with no great confidence. Well, for an old Cats player, that's a big statement. Ed, Geelong... Hey, old Lions player too, remember? Yeah, you are. So you're 11 games at the Lions. I should have forgot that. Ed, Geelong for me, Brisbane Lions for Ken. Over to you guys.
Tom? I'm Brisbane.
Geelong.
I think Geelong as well.